how to draft a pattern for your very own crop top. Now today we will be using Clo3D, but you can follow along with pencil and paper. The same principles will apply. Also, for this tutorial you're going to need a bodice block, and if you do not have one, there's one available on my Patreon right now for free. You do not need to be a paying member. You can just go ahead, click on my Patreon link and grab one. So hopefully you've downloaded Clo3D, and once you open the software, this is the interface that you should see. So now I know there are a lot of tools here, but please don't be intimidated by them. We're only going to focus on a few of the main tools you'll need to get started, and I'll introduce those as we go along. So the first thing I want to point out is that there are two main areas. So on this side, we have our 3D window, which is where we'll see our avatar and eventually our garment in 3D. And over here, we have our 2D window, which is where we'll actually create and edit our pattern pieces. So next up, we're just going to open the Clo3D library, and it's this blue-green button on the top right-hand corner, and it's shortcut Y. It's also really good if you learn the shortcuts to these tools because it will cut down your drafting time by a considerable amount. So let's open up that Clo3D library. So once our library is open, you can see that we have a few different categories available here. But for now, the only one we're interested in is avatar. Once you click on avatar, you'll see that we have a few different options. For this tutorial, we're going to choose either female or mannequin. You can choose whichever you prefer, but I'm going to use female because I'd like to create a render at the end of the tutorial. So inside the female folder, you should see closed standard avatar options, and you'll know that they're the closed standard avatar options because they will have by Clo underneath them. So your library may look different from mine because I have some additional avatars that I've saved myself. So don't worry if you can't see everything that you can see on my screen. You can choose whichever of the standard female avatars you'd like to work with. And of course, if you want to use the teenage avatar because you are younger, you totally can. However, there are no differences between Mia, Naomi, and Yuna. It is just a matter of preference on what avatar you would like to work with. So I always choose Naomi because that's who resembles me the most. And I just load that into the 3D window by double clicking, and you can see our avatar is now almost ready to go. So I am pivoting Naomi by keeping my finger on the right button of my mouse, and I just move my mouse side to side, up and down, depending on which direction I want to go in. Sorry, I just felt like being silly. Also, I zoom in and out by putting my finger on my mouse and moving my finger up and down. So it's very intuitive. However, it may differ if you have a different mouse or a different laptop. So I have a MacBook and a Magic Mouse, but I can't imagine that they would be too different to the point where you couldn't work it out. You can also change the directional view by selecting numbers. So 1, side view, 2, front view, 3, another side view, 4, another side view, 5, top view, 6, side view, 8, back view, and 0, bottom view. So next up, we're going to take a quick look at the avatar editor. So now, to get to the avatar editor, you're going to go to the top of the window, select avatar, and then click avatar editor. Now, we could have loaded a size from the Clo library, but I think it's useful to show you how to customize an avatar as well. So we're only going to make some very basic adjustments today, but this will help you familiarize yourself with the avatar editor and roughly how the interface works. So the default measurements for this avatar aren't quite suitable for the bodice block I'm using. So we're going to adjust the avatar to a size that's a little closer to our block. So with our avatar editor window open, you'll see quite a few different sections and measurement options. Don't worry about all of those for now. For now, we're just going to go to size, which is where this tab default is. And then we're going to select US ASTM Missy Straight. I like using this as a starting point because ASTM gives us a useful standardized size base, and the proportions work well for what we're doing today and the bodice block I'm using. So once we have USASTM Missy Straight selected, I'm going to go under the sizing category And then I'm going to select US ASTM Missy Straight size 6. And then where it says width, I'm going to change under bust to bust. And then I'm going to change the bust to 88 centimeters because that is what my bodice block was made for. So it's going to give us a good starting point. Now you can see here it's no longer categorized. The avatar is now coming up as a custom avatar. Also, you may have noticed that once we changed the bust measurement, it automatically updated all of the measurements in these windows here. And that's because Chloe is automatically adjusting some of the related measurements for us. So that's Chloe's algorithm working in the background. So you can unlink the measurements and control them individually, but we're not going to be doing that today. Next up, we're going to click Set Details, which is this wheel icon here. There are a lot of measurements available here, and we simply don't need all of them for this exercise. So I'm going to reduce what we can see to make things a little easier to work with. So under height, we're going to deselect bust and inseam. So under length, we're going to select apex to apex, and we're going to deselect across shoulder curvilinear. We're going to select across front. We're going to select across back. We're going to deselect center back neck to wrist. We're going to select arm. We're going to deselect center front neck to waist. We're going to keep center back neck to waist, and we're going to deselect total rise. Under circumference, we're going to keep neck base, under bust, bicep, and waist. We are going to deselect high hip, low hip, and thigh. So now that we've made our selections, I'm just going to exit set details here, and now we're just left with the measurements that are actually useful for what we're doing, and we're ready to start customizing the avatar. So because we're creating a relatively relaxed fitting garment, we don't need to enter every single body measurement, and this is actually quite important when working with the avatar editor. Try not to manually control more measurements than you need to. The measurements in Chloe are interconnected, and changing too many of them can sometimes produce strange proportions or distort the avatar. So especially when you're just starting out, I recommend using a few key measurements and just allowing Chloe to calculate the related measurements for you. Now that we've got the measurements we need for our avatar locked and loaded, it is time to start filling in those values. So you're going to want to do this according to your own body or whatever bodice block you are using. If you are using the Blackbird Pattern Studios practice bodice block, then you're going to want to follow along with the measurements that I am putting in. So for apex to apex, we're going to put in 18.5 centimeters. And then for across front, we're going to put 32.4. And for across back, we're going to put 34.4. And for arm, we're going to put 58.5. And for center back neck to waist, we're going to put 41. For neck base, we're going to put in 37. For under bust, we're going to put in 75. For bicep, we're going to put in 28.5. And for waist, we're going to put in 72. Don't worry if you see this little discrepancy here. It is just keeping the avatar in line with Chloe's proportions and algorithm. Now, there's a measurement that I forgot to cover, and that is head. And you're going to see why we're putting this measurement in when we begin drafting. Now, Chloe's heads are quite small. Either that or my head is very big. So I'm just going to put in 57. Another useful thing to know as well when you're doing your own avatar work is that you can move some of these landmarks up and down at the waist, the hip, the under bust, the thigh, etc, etc. The only ones that you cannot move are dotted. Now that I'm happy with the measurement input for my avatar, I'm going to exit the avatar editor, which is the top right corner here. And now we're just back at our usual workspace with our avatar ready to go. Now, this isn't something that I was supposed to cover in this tutorial, but I'm just going to quickly run over the basics with you. So sometimes when using Chloe 3D's avatar editor, you can throw off the posture a little bit. I'm not sure if this is correct, but my theory is that it's something to do with how the neckline is placed and also the nape to waist being shorter than average. So when you put in a value that is higher than what Chloe suggests, it then creates a very forward-headed posture because it's inserting length here. So to fix this, we are just going to make a minor adjustment. We're going to toggle on the avatar joints. So to do that, we're going to select this little icon here of a blue person, and then it says avatar display, and then we're going to select show avatar joints. So the shortcut for that is Shift X, and then we're going to click the cervical joint, which is the neck base joint, on the avatar, and then you will see the gizmo tool here. You're just going to pull the gizmo tool back ever so slightly with the blue arrow so that her head isn't just so far forward. You don't want to overdo it because remember, we do have some natural curvature to the spine, especially in this day and age when people are looking over their phones, hunched over laptops. That is completely normal. Now we're going to load our bodice block into Clo. So we need to go up to File and then Import, Add, and then we need to select Adobe AI/PDF. And this will open your computer's file browser, so that will be Finder on a Mac or File Explorer on Windows. And from here, locate wherever you've saved your bodice block file, whether it be AI or PDF, it does not matter. So one important thing to mention as well before we import is that your bodice block needs to have closed paths in order for Clo to recognize the pattern pieces and import them correctly. So if you're using the Blackbird Pattern Studio's bodice block provided with this tutorial, you don't need to worry about this. The paths are already closed and the file is ready to import. So now that we've got this AI PDF pop-up window, we're not going to change any of these settings. So simply click OK. And now you can see our bodice block has been imported in both the 2D and 3D windows. So before we start working with it, I'm going to roughly position the bodice block over the avatar shadow in the 2D window, placing the pieces approximately where they would naturally sit on the body. So you're going to want to do this using the transform tool, which is shortcut A, and it is this tool here. And this tool allows us to manipulate and move pattern pieces as a whole. Another thing I'm going to recommend if you are using the Blackbird Pattern Studio's practice block is that you check that it has imported to scale. So to do this, we're going to select Z, which is the edit pattern tool. And that is this tool in the corner here. And then we're just going to select the line. So this allows us to select individual lines. And now I can see that my lines are measuring 10 centimeters, which is correct. This means that the pattern has scaled correctly. And then I'm going to shift back to the transform pattern tool and I'm going to select all of my pieces, then go to my 3D window. And then I'm going to right click on the patterns and I'm just going to select reset 2D arrangement. So this will bring it up in line with the avatar as it is in the 2D window. We could go ahead and start the drafting right now, but I'm going to get you guys to just fit the bodice on the avatar. So if you're using the Blackbird pattern bodice block and you followed my instructions to a T, then your bodice block should fit. However, if you have done your own bodice block and you have put in different measurements, I would encourage you to just make sure that the bodice block is fitting the way that you want. I'm going to go ahead and select this square using the transform pattern tool, which is again shortcut A, and then I'm going to delete that because we no longer need it. And then I'm going to select the edit pattern tool, again shortcut Z, and then I'm going to click the center front, and then I'm going to select unfold symmetric editing with sewing. I'm going to do the exact same to the center back pattern and unfold symmetric editing with sewing. Now this will give us a whole pattern. There's a really nifty tool in Clo 3D in the 3D window. We don't have to arrange the pattern pieces ourselves. So we can just go ahead and use the auto 3D arrangement tool, and then this window will pop up and then we click proceed. And it's just going to arrange the pattern for us. I will show you how to do it manually. For now, we're doing a quick fitting, so this will suffice. So it's roughly in the correct place. It's just a bit crooked. So we're just gonna have to straighten that out. That should be just fine. Now, as well, we could sew up the entire bodice with the sewing tool. However, because this is just a plain bodice, I'm going to show you another quick and easy tool to use, and it's called auto sewing. We are going to select top from garment type and then front type. It's going to be closed because we have no closure. And then we're going to click OK. And as you can see here, it's just automatically sewn up the bodice for us. We do not need to use the sewing tools. And then I'm going to press spacebar to simulate, and now it is sewn up on the avatar. So I'm happy with the way that this is looking, so we can go ahead and begin drafting. So this concludes part 1 of the pattern making crop top tutorial, and I hope you'll join me next time where we will be doing the actual drafting. Until next time, bye.